This is an RNZ podcast.
Bonjour mes amis, je m'appelle Ben Strang. You're listening to RNZ's Paris Essentials podcast, bringing you all of the action from the Paris Olympic Games. Tough day for New Zealand. Erika Fairweather, one of New Zealand's great hopes for our first medal of the Games, well, she was just pipped. She couldn't quite get there in the women's 400 metre freestyle final. It was dubbed the race of the century because they had the only four swimmers that have gone under 4 minutes in the race. Erika Fairweather, one of them. She is the world champion. But the people who finished in the top three here at the Olympic Games weren't at those world champs, and they proved just a little bit too good today. Ariana Titmus from Australia streaking home to the title. She was superb. Summer McIntosh, the Canadian, was superb as well. She's only 17, Summer McIntosh. And then Katie Ledecky, the great Katie Ledecky, taking third, just pipping Erika Fairweather, who was coming home so fast. It looked like maybe she could catch Katie Ledecky, but just wasn't quite there. Less than half a second in it in the end. So close for Erika Fairweather winning New Zealand's first medal. She was very emotional afterwards. A tough fourth place to take for Erika Fairweather, but she's done herself proud. She's done New Zealand proud. It was so close to that first medal. So good on her. Fourth place in the race of the century. Nothing to be sniffed at. Elsewhere, not the best of days for New Zealand. Things just starting to get underway in most of the sports. Over at the Rugby Sevens, the New Zealand team finished fifth. Big shock, Fiji lost their first ever Olympic game in the Sevens tournaments. They finished with the silver medal to France. Very interesting that the French team has been able to come through and take the title. Huge turnaround for the French. And Fiji, a little bit solemn afterwards. Let's have a listen to the press conference with the captain, Jerry Tuwai, and their coach, Osea Kolonasau.
How proud are you to have made it back after being out of the team for a year? And what kind of legacy do you think you'll leave for the boys who are going to follow on?
We came for the goal, but we have to settle for the silver. As I said, we expected the France team to perform like that, and it was unfortunate that we lost in the final. For me, it has been a wonderful journey of rugby from the first goal in Rio. As you can see, the captain is here, not coach now. And 2020 was a blessing, and to be here in France 2024, it's another blessing for me. And I don't see myself playing in the future for now. I'm just blessed that head coach can pick me again and help these young boys to Paris.
What will you do now if you're no longer playing?
I think I'll go into coaching. Maybe help this old man in the future.
A question for Osea as well. You've only been in charge of Flying Fijians for a few months now, after Ben Golling's left. What have you done to take a programme and a group of players that were not performing at the level they're capable of, that were performing probably some way beneath themselves in terms of results, get them together and bring out this level of performance on the Olympic stage?
I just brought out, I set standards. I came in and I didn't see the standards that we built. We built 4-year standards in that road to Rio. And I came in, I didn't see it, and I just set standards, and I wanted the boys to get fit because, we play a high tempo game and we want a free flowing, and you need to be fit to play that game. And I think it took us a while to get used to it, and the boys to get used to me as well. Some will say I set too high standards, But to me, that's the gold standard you got to live by. And but I've been thankful for Jerry. He was always going to come back. I was always going to get him back because he knew how I wanted to play the game. Plus, he knew the standards that's needed to win a goal, and he's won it twice. So I've been really blessed that he agreed to join the team and agreed to follow the diet. And, I pushed him. I think the first 2 months, I told him, you're still not ready. I think after Singapore, he told me, Coach, I think I'm ready. I said, no, not ready. So after Madrid, I said, okay, we're going to give him Madrid. And after Madrid, he just showed what I needed to see from him and what I needed to see from a leader.
Yeah, he had a massive tournament in Madrid and again this weekend. If this is the last time we see Jerry playing for the Flying Fijians, Osea, talk to us about the mark that he's made on rugby in Fiji. I'm sure back home he's probably a national hero like Antoine Dupont is here in France. What kind of legacy will he leave if this is the last time we see him playing for Fiji?
I think it's going to be a tough loss for Fiji rugby. And I hope he doesn't get away from rugby because he's getting into the business circle. He doesn't say it out a lot. But he's getting into the business circle I'm proud of, but I hope hear him say that he wants to coach, and I'm happy with that. But the legacy he set is a legacy I think that won't be followed. To be 7th player of the decade, to win Hong Kong Sevens 6 times in a row, to win 2 gold medalists now and add a silver medalist. I think after he's gone, we'll say there's only one Jerry Tuwai, and I think that legacy will leave a huge dent or a huge mark. Our footprints is left in the sand for kids to follow, and I think kids will strive to set to that standard he set. I got Masi, Balwa Ricky, and Nadungu on their second Olympic. I think they're chasing the legacy Jerry has set of trying to get to 2 gold medals, but we fell short to a very good French side. And but I want to thank Jerry. He thinks he's a senior player now, and he gives me a little talks back a little bit of a banter, saying, "Oh, you can't order me around anymore. I'm a senior player now." Because when he talks to the players, I always tell him, no matter how you see yourself, you always be little Jerry to me, because I've always looked after you since you walked in. But I think it'll be a hard legacy to follow.
Well, there you go. It wasn't that nice to hear. Jerry Tuwai joking about helping the old man with the coaching, and Osea Kolonisau talking about watching Jerry Tuwai make those baby steps in the Fijian Sevens team all those years ago. Both were terrific players, and I imagine will be great coaches for the Fijians, leading them into the future. Fantastic again from Fiji. Another medal. They're ahead of us on the medal table, ahead of New Zealand on the medal table, the Fijians for now, so good on them. That was Jerry Tuwai and Osea Kolonisau. Now, a tough start for the Olympic hockey team, the men's hockey team, the Black Sticks. They lost, no points for them, but a lot of Olympic debuts for members of this team. This audio with Dom Dixon was provided by the NZOC, and it started by asking him how he feels to have made his Olympic debut.
Yeah, pretty special. Obviously, there's been quite a bit of work that's gone in the last 3 to 4 years, even longer. So to actually get out there on the pitch was pretty special. Big thank you to all those who've been part of it. Couldn't be prouder. Couldn't be more thankful for all of them. So
what is some of that work that's gone into it?
A lot. It's more tweaks than anything over the last 12 months, I would say. Be it physical, technical, or mental. There's been a lot of things that I've been trying and playing with. So lots of learning.
And in terms of sacrifice, what have you had to sacrifice to get to here?
Yeah, so luckily I've got a really, really, really supportive employer. So for the last 6 months, they've allowed me to pretty much be on hockey leave for all that time. So it makes it pretty easy to train and get around rather than trying to jam in 8 hours of work as well.
And then the game, unfortunate result. How would you sum it up?
Pretty wavy, yeah. We soaked up a lot of pressure, and they had quite a few opportunities, but I think we actually hit back as well. We threw a few punches in there, so that was pretty cool. Good to see the boys really grit their teeth and get back to 2-2, but unfortunately couldn't come away with any points.
And then what do we need to tighten up for tomorrow?
Yeah, good question. I think there's a little bit. I think defensively we'll look to tighten up in a couple of our different presses. So yeah, that'll be the main thing. But I think going forward, attack. There are a few opportunities, but just some minor tweaks here and there, and we'll be ready to go again.
And that was Dom Dixon talking about making his Olympic debut for the Black Sticks. Just a pity they couldn't come through with the victory there today. Now, on Sunday morning, there was a very interesting chat. Jim Moore talking to broadcaster Lavina Good about the games so far. Lavina Good about the games so far. Really, really interesting. She gives an insight into what it's like behind the scenes and the Kiwis that she'll be following. Hopefully she'll be calling a few New Zealand medals, although perhaps those aren't the sports that she'll be broadcasting on. But have a listen to this chat. A really interesting chat between Jim Moore and Lavina Good.
Kia ora, Lavina. Night time for you. Duty's over for the day. You just back from the pool.
I am. Bonsoir. Nice to speak to you, Jim. Yeah, I've been at the pool working on the water polo today, but I managed to also sneak over and catch a quick glimpse of Erika Fairweather, who I had tipped to win a bronze medal a few weeks ago, and she came oh so close, but not this evening. Not this evening.
Oh, so
never
close.
Mind.
Yeah, and we just heard her on the news. She's sounding very gracious, actually, in defeat. There's gender parity in the games for the first time, with as many women competing as men. That was reflected in your commentary box as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, for the first time ever in terms of the Olympic broadcast service, which broadcasts to most people around the world. They had two wahine, two female commentators and one male. So that's a nice touch. And I just think more importantly is the fact that, yeah, they're out of the 10,500 athletes, half of them are female and the other half are male. And it's taken a long time, very long time, since the first modern games of the Olympics in Athens in 1896 that this has actually happened. But it's just a sign of the times, and hopefully people are recognising the fact that this is important. And it's still early days, and even though we're establishing it and advocating it, it's still very early days. But the fact that the numbers are even when it comes to women and men in competition is such a good thing, I think.
We'll mention Celine Dion after we talk to you, but, from Lady Gaga to the pyrotechnics on the Pont des Arts, there was a lot to see. You've been to a few Olympics now. It's interesting how polarised the writers and journalists around the world are about this, but was this the best start you've seen? How would you describe it?
It's interesting. This is my seventh Winter and Summer Olympics, and you always have an opinion of the opening and closing ceremonies, but most of them that I've been to have been quite, it's always been about the country itself or the nation itself and representing them. And I hate to use the word arrogant, but it's almost like an egotistical approach to an opening ceremony, and that it's like it's our chance to shine, and we'll show the world, and we'll see what we can do. And a couple of days before the opening ceremony, I spoke to Thomas Joly, who was the creative director, and I said, "What are you trying to achieve here?" And he said, "Well, we're not trying to say to the world, this is the first time Paris that has ever had an athletes parade come in first rather than last. We're not trying to say to the world, this is the first time we've just invited fans. What we're trying to do is say to the world, it's about the people and it's about the athletes. It's about welcoming everyone. We're not trying to do it different just so that we can be popular or we can, draw attention from the media. We're doing because it's about unity." And I thought to myself, well, that's the Olympic spirit, isn't it? It's about bringing us all together as one and celebrating each other. And we put away everything else and the disasters and the attacks and the viruses, and we go, let's celebrate something great, be it sport or art or culture. And I feel like they really did that in the opening ceremony. It was very French. It was very risque. It was very challenging. It was very dangerous. And I feel as though they got away with it because they did it. And the other thing is, Jim, I spoke to him and I said to him, why would you do this, apart from the fact that it's a little bit different? He said, and I could hardly understand him for a while. And he goes, "We're very French." And he said, when we're French, what we like to do is we try things, and if it works, it's great. And if it doesn't work, we don't do it again. And I thought, we're not like that. And that's something we should think about.
The New York Times says it minimised the athletes. It's interesting how people, as I said, are polarised. But there was controversy, wasn't there? There was the headless Marie Antoinette. There was the drag performer parody of The Last Supper that has got social media outraged. Were these tricky moments to negotiate for you? There was also someone naked, painted blue and covered by a fruit platter. So how did you handle that in the commentary box?
And also, Jim, you forgot about the menage a trois, which happened when the door shut.
That's right. Yes.
That was another little piece that, as a commentator, like sometimes all you can say is "ooh la la," and you think about moments like that. Well, I guess what they decided was they could either address it or ignore it, and they could either fabricate something or produce something that is consistent with the culture of France. And I guess here, like the last couple of weeks I've been here, and I've been here before, the thing is about Paris and France is that it's a very diverse country full of lots of cultures, and you can either embrace it or you can't. And I get throughout that production, it was a way of saying we are a country full of so many people of different attitudes and different opinions, and we are going in different directions. But at some stage we can all come together. And I feel as though last night it was very risque and flamboyant, and very French. And it was kind of refreshing to see an opening ceremony that was not just different, but not just owned by one country, but kind of represented. Like, there were so many scenes which was not just, or tableau, which were the different sections that came through. It wasn't just about the French culture. It was about the crossroads of France being within that European culture and how it affected everyone else. And I thought they handled it really well. It's a hard thing to do in a short period of time, but I still thought it was really entertaining. It was something different, and it was brave, and I felt like we should celebrate the brave.
Elon Musk slammed the performance, saying
I
this
saw
is
that,
the Last
yeah.
Supper, extremely disrespectful to Christians, and the
Yeah.
French bishops are up in arms. Look, the rain didn't stay away, but nor did it seem to dampen enthusiasm much. It did make things difficult, though, for the dancers and the other performers. And also, can I ask you, they may be a bit worried about what the rain's going to do to water quality in the Seine, whether it'll be...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're all concerned about that. The Seine has been the topic of conversation prior to coming here, and it still is the topic of conversation now. At the opening ceremony, I felt sorry for the creative directors, because so much of it was timed with the sun going down and shining on the glorious golden spectre, and so much was based on that. And we'd had probably 10 days of perfect sunshine up until then. But as you know, you can't control the weather, and it's inclement. And, maybe the River Seine was saying, maybe I don't necessarily want you all competing here at the moment or travelling down me, and granting all the wishes that you're after at this stage. But yeah, the rain, it hasn't been too heavy today. I know the skateboarding was cancelled today here in Paris, so that's been put off for a couple of days. But in terms of the water quality, I think it will go ahead with the triathlon. They've spent $1.5 billion on making sure that water quality is fine and decent for competition. And I don't think anything will change that at this stage.
Doesn't feel right being so clean, said the Seine. All right, understood. What events are you calling, by the way?
I've just jumped into water polo. Unfortunately, New Zealand hasn't been able to represent at water polo this year. It always comes down to an Oceania competition, and Australia is so strong, just pure population. I guess might have to wait until the 2032 Olympics in Brisbane until New Zealand will compete in water polo. But I've been covering that today, and it's been quite entertaining. I've got some shooting coming up, and just kind of a little bit of diving as well. It's been full on. Like, it's a very intense experience. It sounds so glamorous, Jim, to go over to Paddy to cover the Olympic Games, and then on the end of a 17-hour day, you say to yourself, "Oh my goodness." I'm getting so old. Like I was at the water polo today, and the American team's there, and the American captain had endorsed the support of a rapper called Flava Flavor, and everyone was talking about it, and he was there, and everyone's getting photos, and I thought, oh my goodness, I don't even know who this person is.
Join the club. We hear some of the British athletes are making their own sandwiches. We've heard about the enormous effort going into feeding everyone with 200 very fine French chefs. Have you heard anything about this with the British team and the quality of the food?
You know what? About day 3 of the Olympics, the story comes out about the food. That's usually what happens, and it's come out a little bit earlier at the moment. I do know that the French hospitality committee team had decided that what they would do is source and a variety of food that came within a certain area, 20 to 50 kilometres of Paris, to make sure that all the food, not necessarily was organic, but it was sourced locally. So, you know, the cheese and the bread and the local produce all came locally, which is really, really good for the economy. And for as much as the media have said that, you know, the variety isn't enough, or some of the athletes are having to make their own food, God forbid. Who could imagine having to make your own lunch to head off somewhere? But to be honest, what I've actually heard, Jim, is that the food's been really good. And the food I've had here in France has been absolutely outstanding because, as you know, Jim, cheese is life. That's all that matters.
Cheese is life.
Fromage.
It's almost time to say adieu, but I see there are reports of empty planes and spare hotel rooms, although Airbnb's doing well. Do you think the high prices, the trouble getting taxis evidently, all the QR codes and the sealed-off streets are putting tourists off at all?
There's not a taxi within 50 kilometres of the city centre of Paris, so don't even think about that. The underground tube, the metro, is operating every minute per minute. It's so effective. It's fantastic, which is really, really good. I think people wait until the last minute to buy tickets to the Olympic Games, and on the back of that exceptional opening ceremony, people have decided that they would purchase more tickets. But it's the Euro train as well, coming out of Europe with the terrorist attacks, trying to shut down the arrival from people coming from London all the way through to Paris and making sure they don't get here. But from what I could see at the venues today, I've been to 3 venues today, and they were all sold out. And it's more importantly, not necessarily the bottoms on seats, Jim, but it's the reflection of the opinion of the community. And for as much as you hate it, can you imagine, like, Jim, you know what it's like in Auckland with peak hour traffic? Could you imagine shutting down one lane, going, this is an Olympic lane only, and if you're in this lane, we'll charge you $300 and you're not into the Olympics? That could be quite frustrating, but it's only for 2 weeks, and it happens at every single Olympics. And for most of the people that I've spoken to here, and in fact, most of the people I'm speaking to back home in New Zealand, most people are embracing these Olympics because it's such a special thing, not just to acknowledge athletes that are representing their country, but it's an opportunity to bring us together as one. And that very, very, very rarely happens. And if it takes a sporting event for that to happen, I think it's worthwhile supporting.
That was Lavina Good talking to Jim Mora on Sunday morning on RNZ. And let's now throw forward to later in the week. Ryan Fox, one of New Zealand's big golfing hopes, him and Daniel Hillier are competing in the men's golf tournament in Paris. And Ryan Fox coming off some mixed form at the Scottish Open and the Open Championship, formerly the British Open. He was fantastic on Sunday at the British Open. He was 3 under par in diabolical, difficult conditions. And basically, he told Barry Guy that he wants to bring that Sunday form into the Olympic tournament.
I've had a little bit of everything, to be honest, the last couple of weeks. I didn't play overly well at the Scottish Open. Kind of got it round for 2 days and then felt like I played a little better on the weekend and didn't score very well at all. The Open was a little bit the same, to be honest. I played decent enough the first couple of days and didn't make many birdies, but was sitting okay after 2 rounds, and then played awful on Saturday in the easier conditions, and then was pretty despondent about my golf game, and then went out on Sunday and didn't miss a golf shot. So I'm certainly hoping the Sunday golf comes out this coming week rather than the Saturday golf. I've been working pretty hard at it, and it feels like it's close. It's just waiting for it all to kind of click, which I probably have to be a bit more patient. Feel like I've maybe been trying to force it a little bit. With golf, doesn't really work very well doing that. So it's all the parts are there. I've had rounds where I putted really well. I've had my short games been tidy. I've had rounds where I've driven it really well. And I've had rounds where I've hit my irons really well. I just haven't done that all in the same day. So, hopefully this is the week.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, how do you this is the Olympics, of course, so how do you just go out there and go, right, okay, Ryan, let's just try and, relax, or how do you approach it?
Yeah, I think the format kind of lends itself to that anyway. You're obviously playing for a podium and kind of nothing else. If it's a weird feeling being on Sunday not really playing for anything. The last couple I haven't played overly well and been out of the tournament and too far away from a podium to contend for that on a Sunday. So it's it kind of lends itself to just give it a go and not really worry about too many other things. There's no cut, obviously. We're playing for a few world ranking points here and there, but for the most part, you're playing for one of those 3 medals, and that's it. And so hopefully that kind of frees everything up a little bit this week. Nothing else to worry about. Just go and give it a crack and enjoy wearing the silver fern. We don't get to do that very often.
Your family, who's here?
No, just by myself. We were looking at it to do it with the family, but we did 20 weeks of travel early in the year with the 2 kids, and keeping them away for that long was probably a little too hard. And the logistics around family and everything else at these is a little harder than a normal tournament. So it was just a bit easier for me to come by myself and just to be able to enjoy that experience and not worry about where's the family staying or how do I go and see them and stuff like that.
And this is your third games, isn't it? So you're sort of veteran coming to the New Zealand team almost, feels like? Yeah,
I definitely feel a bit more comfortable in that respect than the last 2. Really enjoyed being a part of the team the last 2 Olympics, but some of it was a bit overwhelming basically, but here I feel a bit more comfortable in that respect, and and we had a little bit of time in the village yesterday. I'll have a little bit of time in the village today before going down to the golf course where we're staying for the week, and it was really cool to chat to a lot of the other athletes about what they do and when they're competing and all of that, and that's the cool part of the games. I think for us as golfers, we don't get that very often. It's a very individual sport, so to be able to be part of a team to represent New Zealand is a very cool experience, and to be able to do it now for the 3rd time is pretty amazing. Certainly not something I'd have thought of growing up, and I feel like if my golf game can keep going, I'd love to give it a crack for a 4th in LA in 4 years' time as well.
Yeah, because that's the thing about golfers, with all due respect. Your career's a bit longer, isn't it, than perhaps a lot of other sports? Yeah, I mean, I played rugby and cricket growing up, a bit of tennis as well, and if I'd have been playing any of those sports, I'd probably been retired by now. So it's pretty cool that I played my best golf in the last 2 years or so as a 35, 36, 37-year-old. So we're very lucky in this game, and hopefully I can continue to be a little bit of a late bloomer in that respect, and it's great having these experiences, and being on the PJ Tour as well this year as a rookie, as a 37-year-old, is pretty strange. So it's cool. Golf, we're very lucky in golf, and then obviously further down the track you've still got senior golf if you want to make it that far, and Steve Alker's done a pretty damn good job of that in the last couple of years. So golf's we're very lucky. It's a very cool sport in that regard, that you can kind of control your destiny in the sport a little bit. You're not hamstrung as much by age or drop in performance in that respect as you are in some other sports where it's pretty hard to keep up with the young people.
That was Ryan Fox talking to Barry Guy there. So today, another big day of Olympic action over in Paris. I'm going to rattle through all of our team that are playing their sports overnight. Let's crack into that. Gymnastics is the first thing. 7:30 p.m. Artistic individual all-round women subdivision 1 qualification. We have Georgia Rose Brown competing at 7:30 p.m. New Zealand time. In the equestrian, the eventing individual team cross country, Clark Johnston, Tim Price, Janelle Price at 8:30 p.m. or from 8:30 p.m. In the rowing, we have the women's coxless pair heats of Kate Haynes and Alana Sherman kicking off at about 8:30 p.m. The men's coxless pair heats, Daniel Williamson and Philip Wilson from 9 p.m. The women's lightweight double scull heats, Shannon Cox and Jackie Kittle at 9:30. The women's coxless four heats, Jackie Gowler, Phoebe Spores, Kerry Williams and Davina Waddy at 10:30 p.m. The men's coxless four heats, Logan Ulrich, Ollie McLean, Tom Murray and Matt McDonald from 10:50 p.m. In the pool, another medal chance here. Lewis Clareburt, he's in the men's 400-metre individual medley heats at 9 p.m. or from 9 p.m. Erika Fairweather's back in the pool for the 200-metre freestyle heats from 9 p.m. And we have Kane Follows in the men's 100-metre backstroke heats. The women's doubles, that was delayed from yesterday due to rain, so they may get underway from about 10 p.m. That's Sun Lolo and Erin Routliffe. Sailing, the women's foil, races 1 to 4, Ville Ten Havre from 10:13 p.m. The men's foil, with the first 4 races, Josh Armitt from 11:43 p.m. And then heading into the early hours of Monday morning, the mountain biking, women's cross-country final, Sammy Maxwell, 12:10 a.m. The canoe slalom, women's K1 semi-final, Luca Jones is there from 1:30 a.m. The final, 3:45 a.m. She had a lot of faults, but if she didn't have those faults, she would have qualified in top spot. So if she can put in a faultless run, Luca Jones a very good chance at a medal tomorrow as well. Continuing the sailing, we have Molly Meach and Joe Allais, our flag bearer. They're in the women's 49er FX, races 1 to 3 from 1:35 a.m. down in Marseille. The men's 49er racing, Isaac McCarty and Will McKenzie from 1:45. In the football, the NZ women played their second group game against Colombia in Lyon at 3 a.m. The NZ men's hockey team played their second group game against Belgium at 3:30 a.m. The women's rugby sevens is underway. They play China at 4 a.m. and Canada at 7:30 a.m. They are a very good medal chance, the New Zealand women. In fact, gold medal favourites. In the surfing, we have Safi Vet and Billy Stearman over in Tahiti for the surfing at 5 a.m. and 9:48 a.m. respectively. And then the swimming finals, should the team make it, Lewis Clareburt, 6:30 a.m. for the 400-metre IM final. Kane Follows would be on at 7:37 a.m. if he can make the 100-metre backstroke semi-final. And Erika Fairweather, the women's 200-metre freestyle semi-final, would be at 8 a.m. if she makes it. That's all the action that we can expect overnight at the Olympic Games. Thank you very much for joining me on the Paris Essentials podcast. I will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. We have an episode dropping tous les jours every day during the Olympic Games. Make sure you follow, make sure you listen wherever you get your podcasts. So until tomorrow, à demain, au revoir.